Let's get it. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, greatly appreciate all of you for watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. As a guy who grew up in Westchester, to cover the Birds like this, it's phenomenal, especially for a YouTube channel that is approaching 50,000 subscribers. On today's show, taking a look at the Eagles free agency tracker. Before we get started, though, show us some love. If you look back at the content that we've been able to produce all throughout this week, I dare you to find an Eagles YouTube channel out there that rivals what we're doing. That's a big reason why we're 262 people away from 43,000 subs, and we are approaching 50,000 subs. So lock us in and subscribe, and if you want to interact with me, hit me up, send me a DM, tell me you love me, tell me you hate me. You can do that on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same handle on both, at Chase_Senior. So, like I said, we're taking a look at all of the moves that the Philadelphia Eagles have made so far in NFL free agency. We're going to talk about the player and the contractual details, and then one takeaway on all of these players as well. Marcus Mariota, late on Thursday night in the wee hours of Friday morning for some, signing with the Eagles, one-year, $5 million deal to be the backup quarterback for Jalen Hurts. And my one takeaway on Marcus Mariota, he is a capable backup who can fill in for Jalen Hurts without having to overhaul the scheme. The thought process here is that Hurts, with Brian Johnson now as the OC, probably going to still run a lot of RPO, quarterback power, quarterback option, quarterback runs, and Marcus Mariota can bring that to this offense as well. And Jalen Hurts has missed 4 starts in his 2 seasons as a starter. And now, if he does get hurt, let's hope that he doesn't, there won't be a massive difference in the offensive scheme from Hurts running things to Marcus Mariota because of Mariota's athleticism and his running ability. Now, the fact that he is about a 62% completion percentage guy throughout his career is a little bit problematic. That's why at this point, he is a backup quarterback. For Greedy Williams, signed with the Eagles on a 1-year deal, former second-round pick in 2019 out of LSU. This is a player who comes to South Philly with a lot of pedigree. Still a lot of upside. Back in 2021, he had 10 pass breakups, actually played pretty well. Then the back half of last year, he was a healthy scratch after he started the season somewhat banged up. I like Greedy Williams as a player, and now he's your cornerback number 3. There are not a lot of other teams out there with the player, with the pedigree, the ability, the potential of Greedy Williams at that cornerback 3 spot. He's looking at it as an opportunity to elevate his career, revive his career, to live up to those expectations of being that second-round pick with an organization that, unlike Cleveland, has a talented squad, is a consistent winner, has a foundation, a good culture, and a better defensive scheme. Greedy Williams, I think, could thrive. And here's my one takeaway on him. Former second-round pick who played very well in 2021, I thought, with 10 pass breakups. This is a short-term, cost-friendly deal on a player with upside. Hopefully, this Eagles coaching staff able to bring out the best in him and maximize that ability. As for Fletcher Cox, Philadelphia Eagles icon and legend, returning to the Birds on a 1-year, $10 million deal. $10 million for a player who's coming off a campaign in which he had 7 sacks. It's actually pretty good value. The Eagles last year paid him $14 million. He had bigger offers elsewhere. That means that for Fletcher Cox, he had opportunities to get paid even greater than what he got paid for Philadelphia. So that tells you that the market was dictated as such that other teams really value Fletcher Cox. So $10 million for a player coming off a 7-sack campaign. He had bigger offers elsewhere. You pay him $10 million this year. You needed defensive tackle depth. And, of course, you want to maintain an Eagles legend in this locker room and on this roster. Now let's shift gears to James Bradberry, second-team All-Pro in 2022. I like this deal. 3 years, $38 million for a 30-year-old, $20 million in guaranteed money. The one takeaway here, The average annual value of this contract checks out to about $12.5 million. That is not even top 15 cornerback money for a guy who last year was a second-team All-Pro. I did think that it was important. Speaking of Darius Slay, let's go to him to retain Darius Slay because I don't think James Bradberry is an island corner. I think he's better suited as a guy who matches up extraordinarily well against number 2 wideouts who can drop back in some zone coverage, whereas Slay is that island guy who can put the clamps on a guy like Justin Jefferson. But to bring back Slay and to bring back Bradberry and to have these two guys under contract for the next 3 years, now you're looking at a secondary in a win-now window for Philadelphia that features 2 very good corners in Slay and Bradberry. You spread out Darius Slay's contract over 3 years, he's going to make about $14 million per year. 32 years old, but still playing at a very high level. With that, let's go to our first poll question here on today's show. Who is the best free agent signing for the Birds? We're talking impact, we're talking dollar value. Share your thoughts down below with us down in the comment section. We appreciate all of you for hopping on board and being a part of the show. Now to the backfield for Philadelphia. Boston Scott coming back to the Eagles on a 1-year, $2 million deal. He is the giant killer. So at the very least, you know he's going to shine in 2 games against New York every single year. F that team up I-95. He is a quality backup running back who can also play special teams as a kick returner. There's certainly value there. Plus, he skulls the New York Giants, which is always a win. Rashaad Penny, his backfield mate, signing with the Eagles on a 1-year, $1.35 million contract. That is not a lot of money for Rashaad Penny if he is able to stay healthy. And that's really the big takeaway for Rashaad Penny. When he's healthy, he has been very, very good, but has missed a ton of time throughout his career. You're barely paying him anything, though. And that's the thing with Penny. You look at his yards per carry since he entered the National Football League. We had a graphics mishap here, so don't mind us, right? 4.9, 5.7, 3.1, 6.3, and 6.1. Those are his average yards per carry per year since entering the NFL. And Trace, if you want to put that in preview, I could still take a look at it. Here's the problem with Rashaad Penny. His games missed per year, 2, 6, 13, 7, 12. A former first-round pick out of San Diego State, when on the field, runs like a bulldog, very physical, has getaway speed for that size. He simply has to stay healthy. This is a classic Howie Roseman deal. If he is able to stay on the field, if you get good production for him, 1 year, 1.35, that's a steal. And right now, speaking of stealing, Kenny Gainwell, Rashaad Penny, Boston Scott, you're paying 3 backs a combined total of $2.5 million. Miles Sanders making $6 million this year for the Carolina Panthers. To the best center that we've ever seen in the history of this illustrious franchise, and the best center still in the NFL. Jason Kelce, not retiring. I ain't done yet. 1 year's $14.25. He remains the highest paid center in the NFL, and he deserves it for shotgun and beers at the OD and C aisle, but also playing really good football, moving well. He's the commander of this offense, good relationship with Jalen Hurts, a staple within this locker room culture, and that's really what's important. You're paying him the highest money among all centers in the NFL. You don't want to emotionally pay somebody like, let's say, the Philadelphia Phillies did with Ryan Howard. They paid him after he was past his prime. Then he popped his Achilles, all downhill. Sometimes with franchise icons, you get emotional with some of these deals. And then it doesn't live up to the expectations of the actual performance. But for Kelce, still the best center in the league, despite entering year 13. Speaking of legends who are also a part of that Super Bowl 52 team back in 2017, 2018, Brandon Graham, re-signing with the Eagles, 1 year, $6 million deal. You're getting a guy who had 11 sacks in 2022 at $6 million. You know how many teams are starved for pass rushing help across the NFL, and the Eagles are able to retain him at $6 million. If he has double-digit sacks once again, that too a very good value deal for Howie Roseman, the genius. Now, let's be realistic about it, right? Can you bank on 11 sacks again? Probably not. Probably not at 35 years old. But he played awesome last year and had a career high in sacks with 11 with fewer snaps. That's what's impressive. And, of course, a cultural dog. Lastly, Brett Toth, 1 year, $1.1 million deal. You know, it's a little bit unfortunate that I wasn't larger, fatter, more girthy, pause, because if I was, I believe I'm agile enough to be a solid offensive lineman. Brett Toth is like on the border of a 53-man roster, still $1.1 million. All right, that is our Eagles free agency tracker. Of course, if any moves do happen, we will add to this. Grade the Eagles free agency period as a whole. A, B, C, D, or F, let us know.